Welcome to My Two Cents with Keith Beggs from Steadfast Wealth Strategies. In this podcast, we show high-level executives and business owners why comprehensive financial planning and executive bonus structures don't have to be too good to be true. Keith draws on his experience in realistic financial planning, and expert guests share his 2 cents about academically based financial planning that you have to hear to believe. Now, on to the show.
Are you savvy about your finances? Everything from taxes, Social Security, and estate planning to retirement, insurance, and mortgages. If you have questions, this episode of Keith Beggs' My Two Cents podcast may have the answers. Keith is with Steadfast Wealth Strategies, and his guest is Nick Herman, the founder of the Institute for Financial Awareness. Keith, I know you've been very excited, and a lot of work has gone into this podcast, so I'm just turning it over to you, buddy. Go for it.
Thanks, Patrice. Yeah, we are super excited about today. We have Nick Herman, as you mentioned. He's the president and founder of IFA. They are a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to spreading financial awareness by providing financial education resources and workshops to different companies and organizations throughout the DC area. And one of the main things we're excited about launching today is bringing that to Houston. So, Nick, thanks for jumping on here with me.
Sure. Yeah, my pleasure.
So, Nick, tell us a little bit about how the IFA, or the Institute for Financial Awareness, came about.
So, over the years, after volunteering with several different nonprofits and working for different companies in the financial service industry over the last 2 decades, I came to realize there is an enormous need for financial literacy, just basic financial literacy. And, most of the quote unquote nonprofits that we were affiliated with were more concerned with collecting dues from advisors or, generating leads to sell or chasing down donations. And, they really weren't in it for the right reason, to educate the general public, on how to budget and plan for retirement and, make the right financial decisions to, achieve their goals, whatever that may be. Well, I was just going to touch on, it's one thing to have a goal. It's another thing to have a plan, right? And, to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And most people out there, they have no idea how their income is taxed or, how their income, falls within the tax brackets, which, it seems like is just constantly changing. What types of retirement plans are out there, and you have pre-tax and post-tax and tax-free options. Most people, they're unsure, or they have little to no idea of what their lives are going to look like in retirement, and let alone have goals or a plan to achieve those goals. So, Keith, as you know, there are so many moving parts to a financial plan and so many eroding factors. And, all it takes is just one of those parts to fail and the whole machine breaks down. I think that, the key to avoiding this is to be proactive about your finances and meet with your advisor on a regular basis. And if you're a do-it-yourselfer, take the time to revisit your plan and make the necessary changes. There's so many variables, so many eroding factors out there, death, disability, taxes, state, federal. Well, of course, in Texas, there's no state taxes, so that's nice. Right. But, income taxes, interest rate, fluctuation, we're in such a low interest rate. Yeah, right. COVID stuff that's just completely out of our control. Inflation, fees and expenses, and a lot of that's hidden, and it's really hard to determine, what the fees and the internal expenses are in your plan or the different investment or insurance products that you may have. The the list goes on. And I would say it's so important to be proactive, as opposed to, being reactive. And, I mean, over the years, again, we've realized that there is such an enormous need for financial literacy. And that's what the goal of our nonprofit is. We dedicate ourselves to providing free educational resources to the public. And, I think that I know that we've been able to make a huge difference in, thousands of people's lives across the country. So,
no, I love the way you said that. And since now that we're partners together, I'm going to steal that. There's a huge difference in financial goals and financial plans, right? I mean, you could have a goal to make it to the NBA, right? That's every kid's goal. But what's your plan? Are you going to shoot 1,000 shots a day? Right? Are you going to, how often are you going to lift weights? So what is your plan? And I think too often we talk about financial goals and not planning. And the other thing that you mentioned, I think is so important, is you don't make a plan once. These things cannot be concrete, right? You've got to be able to move and flex as life happens, right? As COVID happens, as death happens, as disability happens. Maybe you don't get into the college of choice. Maybe you get into a college that you didn't plan on. You've got to be able to move and have flexibility with this. And if you don't have a plan to go back to and evaluate and work on, how do you make decisions, right? How do you make the next choice in life or know where you're going? So, man, you did a great job of explaining that. So, as I mentioned in the opening, man, you guys are partnered with just some huge, industries out there, whether it's Fortune 500s, whether it's, you're in DC, so like the DHS, the Department of Defense, the Department of Energy. What has kind of been the response from those companies, either on the private or corporate sector, and then on the government sector, when you've brought this idea to them about educating their members or their employees?
I would say that the response from both employees and the employers, the companies and organizations that we've been working with over the years has been, overwhelmingly positive. The employers are so happy to have, someone, an organization, outside of human resources, someone that has, the knowledge and the ability to give advice and relate to their employees, whether they're, a blue collar worker or, a higher level executive, being able to just to have that range and there's no product sale. There's no pitch. There's no catch. It's a huge, I would say that from what we've heard from the employers is it's an asset for them. And it probably, I don't know how, you would quantify this, but it probably helps with employee retention and morale. The employees are, just grateful for the opportunity to learn about their finances and plan for the future. Everybody has a retirement plan. Everybody has a, life insurance or maybe disability insurance. And you have all these different micro products or different moving parts to your plan. But very few people take the time to step back and approach their plan on a macro level and look at it big picture. Mm-hmm. And, that's what we do. And I know that's what you do. And, I think that makes a huge difference. We have, I don't know, how many, I would say, upwards of probably 40 or 50 different financial professionals strategically located around the country that volunteer their time, really as a way of giving back. Keith, you're a super successful financial advisor, and I know you do really well, and your clients love you, and through IFA, you have the ability to provide advice and your services and reach out, as a nonprofit volunteer. And I think that there's a big difference when you're wearing that hat. And, And it's not just financial advisors, right? That volunteer with our nonprofit. I mean, we have insurance agents, investment advisors, financial planners, real estate agents, mortgage brokers, estate planning attorneys, home and auto, property and casualty insurance agents that all volunteer to help IFA clients draft a will or get the right type of home and auto insurance coverage, or, answer those real estate questions, regarding buying or selling or investment properties and so on. I mean, it feels so good to give back. And, I would say, year to date, our nonprofit has drafted over 250 free wills.
Wow.
And I mean, I don't know what an estate planning attorney would charge to do this. I feel like, I've seen attorneys charge $200 or $300, and I've seen attorneys charge $2,000. It's right. They're all over the place. But I mean, the last will and testament, power of attorneys, medical directives, and then just, the final arrangements doc, 250 year to date. And this is something that, it has become one of our main focuses is drafting these wills and helping our clients, and our, workshop, which now is, we're doing a lot of webinars, not a lot of in-face, workshops, but, helping these attendees just draft a basic estate plan. And
right.
A lot of times it's not a money thing. It's most people have $250 or $300 to draft a will. I think you can go to LegalZoom and do it for $100 on your own. It's pretty straightforward. It's just being able to create the sense of urgency, and then being in a position to answer the questions that, may be really hard for this person to overcome. And that's what's, held them up. They don't know what to do, or, what about the step kids or the grandkids and so on. So it's so important. And I think that long-winded answer to your very short, simple question, but I mean, I would say the response has just been overwhelmingly positive, and we're just so blessed to be an opportunity to give back.
No, you're right. And going back to the beginning there, one of the things you said was, just the stress, right? I think there's numerous studies out there that talk about financial stress being one of the large drivers in underperformance at work and divorce. There's a number of things that your financial education or your financial household, or however you want to say it, setting plan, have an effect on it. It could, your job, your marriage, your health, and being able to do that for people, and for companies being able to provide an outlet or a resource outside of their own HR department to allow someone to offer them to get the help that they need is a huge benefit. It's a huge benefit to work morale. It's a benefit to the employee morale. I mean, you could go on and on. I mean, you touched on a lot of it, but I just think that is definitely so important. And one thing that's just great, just talking to you even from 2,000 miles away, is you can just tell your passion for this, just in your voice and the way you talk about it. And so that was a huge driver in our part, and wanting to be a part of IFA and partnering with you guys over some of the other options out there. Is I just know from the conversations and getting to meet you the times I have that this is a big part of where your heart is. You kind of briefly mentioned this, but it always comes up anytime there's a nonprofit, right? People, there's always skepticism, right? In anything, right? We live in a very skeptical world anymore. So, often people are going to ask you, so what's in this for you, Nick? Why are you doing this? You got this very successful business, right? You've done very well for you and your family. And now you've taken on this huge undertaking, right? This is starting a nonprofit organization is no small feat. And so you've taken on this huge undertaking, and now you're taking on a larger piece and trying to grow this nationally, right? And open up a Houston branch or office. And so what's in it for you? What's in it for IFA? Why are you guys doing this?
Plain and simple. It's just an opportunity for us to give back. I mean, there are so many people out there that do not know where to go, or how to get advice. And, and then they just throw their arms up in the air and, they're at a loss. It's so gratifying to be able to help, with no strings attached. As I mentioned, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. So, we can accept donations, which are tax deductible, and that helps. Donations that we receive, they help cover our overhead and allow us to further expand our footprint. But no one draws a salary from IFA. I mean, we're as lean as we can be. And it's just, it's an opportunity for us to give back, just plain and simple.
Yeah, no, man, I know that from everything, but again, it's just something that you hear a lot. People always think those things, but yes, it's just a great opportunity for us in Houston. I mean, we're just so excited about this, to be able to go in and help people and educate them. There's a lot of nonprofits out there that do great work and feeding people and helping with homes and clothing and all those things. And we're not taking away from any of those things, but what we have found, and I think you have found, is my talents lie in education and in the financial realm. And the more families that we can help take care of themselves and be in a better position, that just puts so many more families out there that can then go help other people.
Yeah, Keith. Yeah, that's a great point. Something I forgot to mention, most of the big companies that we work with, they have employee assistance programs, and you have, counselors or employee assistance professionals that are there to, mitigate employee conflicts, and they do their best to deal with these personal and professional stressors. But one of the things that we hear about all the time from these employee assistance professionals is, the need for basic financial advice. And I don't know, how many, like you mentioned, marital problems and divorce, but I know that the majority of divorces are caused, or related to financial issues. And, a lot of times this stuff, if it's addressed properly and early, can be fixed. And there's ways to borrow money and move things around and reallocate and address these issues, as opposed to just, putting it on the shelf and then months and years go by, and then it's so big, it just implodes. And then you have this snowball effect.
Right.
So, that's a great point. Thank you for mentioning that.
No problem. Nick. So, man, I appreciate it. This has been awesome and fun. And we're stoked and excited about 2021 and being a part of IFA and taking this to Houston and impacting lives in a positive manner. If you don't have anything else, Nick, I'm going to wrap it up. Is there anything else you want? Or are we good?
Yeah, no, thank you. I think everyone would agree that we're ready to put 2020 behind us. And, like you said, this has been a long time coming. So we're very happy to partner with you in the Houston area and bring the free resources that IFA, has to offer, to Houston. And, Keith, just so you know, I mean, we're not, out there on Facebook or, on social media looking for advisors, and we don't open our doors to, just anyone. We're very selective about who we partner with and who we work with. And as you mentioned, I mean, we haven't just known each other for years, but, as you mentioned, we've known each other for years. But, Keith, you're a registered investment advisor. You're a fiduciary. You always look out for your client's best interest. And that's something I think that really sets you apart. So again, I mean, it's been a long time coming. We're really excited, to finally be here and roll this out starting 2021. So thank you.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate those kind words. So if you're listening to this and you have questions about IFA, either in the DC area or here in Houston, you can email me. My email address is keith@steadfastws.com. That's keith@steadfastws.com. Or you can get information at IFA ifaonline.org. Again, that's ifaonline.org. I want to thank everyone for listening out there. We're excited about this, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the year.
And to be alerted when new episodes are ready of Keith Begg's My 2 Cents podcast, make sure you subscribe with the subscribe button on this page. And of course, you can share with the share button.
Thank you for listening to My 2 Cents with Keith Beggs. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. All securities discussed are offered and provided through Steadfast Financial Planning, LLC. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Steadfast Wealth Strategies. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor and/or qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.